Hey, Codem family. Today is a special treat because I am sitting with Milton Jones, who is the president of the 100 Black Men of America. Milton, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Brad, and I hope you are.
I'm doing fantastic. I was teasing you earlier because I told you this is a master class and talking to somebody of your stature. And I'm kind of serious when I say that, Milton, because very rarely do we have access to people of your caliber. Milton, just to let everybody know, is the chairman and chair of the board for the 100 Black Men. You're also the founding member of Peachtree, which is a financial consulting company. Um, we don't have time to go over your whole resume, Milton, because we only have a half an hour. So I'm just going to stop right there because we're going to get into a little bit. So uh, you have your the 100 Black Convention for all the chapters around the country. 116 chapters, Milton. What's the goal of the convention?
Well, there's several goals. We want to make sure that we unify even more than we have, that we recognize and remember our history. This is our 40th conference,
Okay.
and that we focus on the future. And so by bringing our chapters together, it's like a revival. We reconnect to the vision and mission of the organization. We have over 300 youth that will be in attendance. And we have members from around the world because we have a chapter in London, one in Turks and Caicos. I know the London chapter's here because I saw their president, Mako,
Okay.
today.
All
Um,
right.
and um, and so by coming together, we share ideas around what's working well. We learn from each other, but we also hear from experts. And then we connect, as I said, to the mission, but also look at some of the issues that we're facing, as a nation and as a community, that, we as an organization need to be a lead part of solving.
Yeah, and I want to just say this because I think depending on who you talk to, the state of Black America is either in turmoil or it's an opportunity, right? We all know that AI is coming for every job, and a lot of Black jobs might be in jeopardy. We know the current administration and what they're doing with DEI and just the opportunities for us. But I'm an optimist, bro, and I see this as an opportunity if we approach it correctly. How do you view it?
I'm an optimist also. When I look at it, you say a lot of black jobs will be taken away by AI. A lot of white jobs will be taken away by AI also.
Yeah.
And so, of a sort, it's almost like a re-level set. When you think about it in that regard, we have to embrace it. We have to make sure we use, the skills we have to take advantage of tools and use them to create opportunity. And I think as long as we do that and keep our head up as opposed to down, we're going to see this opportunity and take advantage of it. I'm an optimist in that regard. When I look at the attitude and approach around diversity, equity, and inclusion, I have to look at what's behind it. And so, to me, there are a number of things behind that approach. One is fear. Another is an attempt to con us out of the things that our ancestors fought so hard for. In other
Hmm.
words, our ancestors fought hard for the right to vote, and there are those who want to con our young people out of that thought. So we have to reinforce the importance of voting. We have to wake each other up, take each other to the polls, check and make sure we're still registered, and get re-registered if that's what it takes. And so all of those things become important to help shape. We all pay taxes. We all are citizens of this country, and I think we have to remind ourselves that we have every right to full citizenship. And so that the fact that I know if we all come together around that in unity, that we will gain more of that back. And
Yeah.
so, in that sense, I get excited about where we can go. But I'm not naive, and I know if we don't wake up, we could easily stay asleep and have opportunities that were fought for, marched for, lobbied for decades go away in a year or two,
Right.
and we can't let that happen.
No, you're right. You're right. And I love what you're saying because I know the 100 Black Men of America, your primary responsibility is mentorship. And we need mentors more than ever right now because the dissemination of information. If you take a look at college, there's a prediction that we may lose 20% of our colleges here in the next 5 years. But we, in our community, we need to look at trade school, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, auto mechanics. There's a shortage of auto mechanics in the country. So it's an incredible opportunity to pass this knowledge down to young men who are kind of sitting idle. Maybe they don't have the aptitude for college, but they can use their hands.
Right.
How does 100 Black Men, plan? What are your mentoring goals for 2026?
So as we look at mentoring, it is across a lifetime, first and foremost. Let me just say that. And
Okay.
certainly it focuses on our youth. We are the largest African American led mentoring organization in the country. But that mentoring is certainly for, the youth we work with in middle school and high school and college, but also for people that are out in careers or that are business owners, and how we, mentor each other. I have as many mentors from the ages of 30 to 50 as I do, in the ages below 21. And so, that's important that we recognize it is across a lifetime. Also, we are resharpening our tools. We have a new training program around mentoring that we're rolling out across our chapters. And it helps us recognize that we have to meet our mentees halfway. We have to meet them. Can't just say, come to me and I got you, but we have to go to them as well, but not force ourselves. And that's what our new training is about, striking that new balance in a new age. And so it is the connection, not just the location. And as we look at that, being present, being fully engaged, and being genuine is what we're about more than anything. So if I had to sum it up to one thing, that would be it from a mentoring standpoint, but also reaching more young people, and doing that using electronics, doing that using time and talent that we have, and meeting, but reaching out and connecting and engaging and listening and learning what's on the minds of the young people that we're working with. But beyond that, we have four pillars, Brad. And so the four pillars are mentoring,
Okay.
education, health and wellness, and economic empowerment. And so when we look at education, we want to continue to encourage young people to go to college. We think that there's a positive outcome from that. But we also don't want to have young people who don't go to college for whatever reason feel like that there's nothing for them. There's much for them. You talked about it already. A number of trades that our ancestors, were great at,
Right.
and continue to build. Much of this country was built on the backs of our grandparents and great grandparents, and so as such, there's nothing wrong with those trades, and so we think there's everything right about those trades, and so there's that, but also workforce development. For example, you talked about auto mechanics. There's not a dealership in this nation that doesn't have a shortage of available talent to work on and service these great new cars that are being sold.
Right.
People don't think about it. Yeah, who's going to work on it when you're bringing it in for service? Well, somebody's
Right.
got to know how to do that. And by the way, they don't tend to get their hands very dirty. They're working. They're basically working on technology components up under that hood. Maybe changing oil gets a little dirty, but that's about it. And so it's good, clean, solid work that pays well. And as such, we need to make sure that we're helping our young people see those opportunities. Some years ago, Brad, there was something called an associate degree. There still is.
Yes.
And practically all of our HBCUs offer associate degrees. Most don't anymore. And so, and a lot of, primarily white institutions did as well. And so that kind of went to the side. But when you think about it, now what's happening is students are going to community colleges and technical schools and getting a degree, an associate degree, in 2 years, and going out into the workforce, and they're prepared to get certified by the company that hires them. And what I try to help people understand who say, well, people are saying that education isn't important. That's really not the whole message coming from corporate America. The message is learning is critical.
Critical.
Formal education may need to change, but the need for learning never goes away. And
Correct.
so they're hiring, students who, some of whom, frankly, if they take enough AP courses, graduate from high school with a year of college under their belt, go get
Yes,
another
sir.
year in community college, and then go to work and make $60,000, $80,000, $100,000.
Right.
And so they can always come back and finish those other 2 years. They could do it at night. They could do, if that's what they want to do. But the fact is, what they're always doing is learning.
Right.
And what companies are saying is, we want them to learn this code our way, not the generic way, but our way.
Right.
And so if we hire them after 2 years and then train them, for a couple of months in our code, whatever company they are, Microsoft, etc., then we have exactly what we're looking for. That's better than hiring somebody after 4 years. Well, that person's got the knowledge, they got the certification, so they have the credentials, and as such, they have an education that's very, very valuable, and a willingness to learn and an energy to learn that really takes them to a whole new level.
Yes, I agree with you. If you take a look at a welder, for instance, it's a
Yeah.
skilled position. It's
Yeah.
not that you're not going to school, but you're
Right.
learning a skilled position. And welders are making they're making six figures.
Yes.
We need them. The U.S. military said they are short 300,000 members to service our military equipment. And it could be 600,000 in the next 5 years if we don't do something. This is an opportunity for our community, Milton.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I agree with you with college. If you can go to college and you have the aptitude and the patience and the time and the expertise to go and be something great, but we cannot sit there and say, "Well, I can't do anything because I'm not necessarily college interested in college." There's so many opportunities right now that we can go take advantage of where we're welcomed because there's a shortage. Um,
That's exactly right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I want to get into you a little bit because in reading your bio, you spent over 32 years at Bank of America. So I have to ask you, where did you get your start? Where are you from?
I was born and grew up in Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia,
All right.
and my parents insisted that I go to Catholic schools for grammar school and high school,
Okay.
and in doing that, I ended up, there were a couple of faculty members who kind of pushed me pretty hard, and I ended up becoming a Notre Dame scholar and going to the University of Notre Dame. And so, because without being named a Notre Dame scholar, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. My parents were blue collar workers who, well, finished high school and, to the point you just made, and they lived a very fruitful life. And they kept learning, but they just didn't go to college.
Right.
Um, I was the second person in my family to go to college. My sister was the first, and we have two cousins who went, and that's kind of been it. But all went to work doing something productive. I majored in accounting. I worked at the largest CPA firm in the world at the time, Pete Mark, which is now KPMG. And after three
Wow.
years, I went into banking. Um, CNS Bank, which is one of the root banks of Bank of America, um, was doing a kind of upgrade of talent. I fit what they were looking for. I got involved in a lot of things before most people in banking, and it helped me rise faster. It was hard work, but I went through it, and it turned out to be something I really liked doing. And so that's where I kind of got my start. Is that I understand the real fundamentals of banking very well, and started with a small bank at the time, though it was considered big at the time.
Right.
But looking back, it was a small. Therefore, I got to see a lot of the bank. Sometimes you go these huge banks, and all you see is one division. I
Yes.
got to see it all, and that included uh, leading the building of the budget across the company and that sort of thing. So, financial roots for sure,
You're
and
you're
then
being modest. You were the president of the Georgia uh, uh, Bank of America. You held many executive positions,
I
and
did.
the reason that I think it's important to talk to you today because money management, the pursuit of money, right now is at the forefront of probably every black man that I know, and who's probably watching this. And I don't mean to just say black men, but I mean as we talk about 100 black men, this is the conversation. So you have firsthand knowledge of how to create wealth, how to manage wealth, how to obtain wealth. Do you use that background when you're mentoring and you're leading the organization itself?
Absolutely. Our economic empowerment pillar is all about that. Our treasurer, Larice Purnell, leads that work along with a number of other folks on his committee, Michael Garner and Eric Clayette out of our New York chapter, and Julian Pouncey out of our North Metro Atlanta chapter, and others. I probably should start naming names. I have to name them all, but the fact is that financial literacy is critical, and you know, and I know, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep and invest. And so, what I look at, and I benefited in my own life from my grandmother who taught me how to be very, very frugal. My parents taught me to go out and make money. My grandmother told me go out and invest and save money and keep more than you spend if you can. But the we talk to our young people. We have programs around financial literacy. There's a program called Hands On Banking, one of our sponsors, Wells Fargo, supports, and Junior Investment, as well as
Wow.
Dollars and Cents around, a study around financial planning, which State Farm sponsors, and so on. So that happens with our young people, but we reinforce that when we talk to our Collegiate 100 chapter members, and we talk about it in our own chapter meetings. The number of our chapters who bring in financial experts, even though they have financial experts in the chapter, but they bring them in to reinforce what financial experts are saying. And honestly, what we're all saying is that when you look at growth, you can get excited about a high salary, but get real excited about a high level of wealth.
Wow. Yeah.
And one of the things that's really, really interesting, as simple as it may sound, is how many of us, in particular, how many Black men don't have life insurance. And when you look at, if you look at the analysis of the difference in household wealth among the Caucasian community, the Asian American community, the Hispanic American community, and the African American community, and we are on the bottom. Okay. One of the biggest differences is inherited wealth.
Yes,
And
I agree.
among that inherited wealth is life insurance and assets. And so the fact is that, people ask me about, work and, why do we still have a firm? And I'm 73 years old. I'm working for my grandkids. My kids are fine. I'm fine. But I'm working for a pathway around my grandkids, not to where they can lay down and do nothing, but to where they have a start.
Yes.
And so I think that those are the kinds of things that we need to do more and more. I'm not trying to hold myself up on a pedestal. I'm just trying to say the more that we do, the more that we share, the bigger difference we'll make to where 5 years from now, that gap won't be as wide as it is.
Man, that is
And that's
incredible.
our opportunity.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that is
No,
just everything you just said is incredible because life insurance is a great equalizer in our community if we purchase it. So I agree with you. And then what you just said about passing down generational wealth to your kids' kids. This is how we can turn the tide. And I don't know if we're having that conversation, Milton. I don't know if we're having that conversation. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. We're going to put the link to the 100 Black Men in the bio. So if you're watching this, you're in a part of the country where you want to join, you can just go to the website, find the local office. If you like what you're hearing here, like and subscribe to Code M podcast. And Milton, this is an incredible half an hour, which hopefully will change and wake somebody up who needs to hear this because we're talking about literally doing a 180 on potentially what path you're on.
Yes.
Um, so are you doing anything, I know you're helping, you have mentorship. The one thing I do want to mention that I heard you say, I did not know, or you reminded me how young you go in terms of fifth graders, middle school. That's
Yeah.
an incredible, incredible opportunity for any young man that can be touched by a mentor to then guide him. I had so many people in my life, from school teachers to coaches,
Yep.
to uncles who kind of, I had the rich uncle, you had the working uncle, I had an uncle that owned a farm. So I got a chance to see everything, man.
Yeah. Well, a lot of our young people don't get to see all of that, Brad. And honestly, I was just at a session about 5 weeks ago at our Douglasville chapter. They had 22 young men who were moving from the fifth grade to middle school, and then some who were moving from 8th grade to high school. And they are in a Saturday program, and that every other Saturday they meet, and they're taught one thing or another around growing up and developing, in the area of managing what money they have, being smart about that, but also being smart about how they behave,
Wow.
who they associate with, how to walk away from trouble as opposed to end up innocently brought into trouble. And so we carry those lessons on across, even more. Some of our chapters have what they'll call botillions, where they work with high school kids, juniors and seniors, and take them to a rite of passage toward manhood. And so around that manhood, being around character, around growth and development mentally and spiritually, around what it takes to stand up and to do what's right, whether somebody's watching or not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those things that you learned and I learned,
Right.
because I wasn't perfect,
Right.
but
Right.
I tried to be as good as I could be. But I'm grateful for the adults who were in my life who shared those kinds of nuggets with me. Like, okay, fine, you're great when we're watching. What you do when my back's turned? Well, God's watching all the time, right? So
Right.
it's just those things that you look at, and then they carry along. And one of the things I'm proudest of, people talk about my accomplishments and that sort of thing, but what they always talk about is that I'm truthful. I'm a straight shooter and I'm honest.
Yeah.
And honest, for me, integrity and accountability are what it takes to be a leader. And so I enjoy hearing people say that, as much as what they say about what they think I know or what I do know. So, but when we share those kinds of things with our young people, we're making a difference. They may not show it right away, but they show it. And one thing I'll say too, Brad, is that, and this is something that I've been thinking about more and more. You had somebody, I had somebody, if we were lucky, we had more than somebody who
Yes.
not only taught us something, but who inspired us. And when you're inspired, that's a game changer.
Woo.
And that's the opportunity we have.
That is the opportunity we have. And it's not sometimes what you say to them is what they watch you do. Like I watched my
Yes.
dad get up and go to work. My father rarely took a day off. If he had a cold, he still went to work. My
Yep.
father got on his knees and prayed every night before he went to bed. I watched this man do it. I mean, like he talked to us, but more
Yeah.
importantly, I think the larger influence was watching what he did. So I know for a fact that you guys could use more mentors. If you're out there, you want to give back, you want to do something, you want to have purpose in your life. The best way to beat depression, man, is to go help somebody else.
Yep.
Uh, and so I encourage you to, seek out, NAACP, Urban League, Black, 100 Black Men of America, because these organizations are making a difference. And I was sitting here thinking about our conversation we're having now, and unfortunately, the algorithm of life can be so negative if we allow it to, right? You see this stuff online and in social media, and I wish we could infect social media with this conversation.
Yes.
I
Well,
wish we could impact people's algorithm with the stuff that you're talking about.
right. Well, I agree, and I think it's up to us to do it more and more. In other words, we see all the negative news, we see all the bad things said about us, but we don't talk about the good things, enough. I mean, there are students graduating from high school with 4.4 GPAs because they're taking all AP courses. There's students with over $1 million in scholarship offers. There's students who have invented a software and gone on to create a company. There's a 15-year-old kid who already graduated from high school that we had at our conference 2 years ago, who's got a financial literacy bus that his parents drive around because he's too young to drive, but he
Right.
carries it around. And that fortunately did end up on Good Morning America, but it does, those things don't end up enough. And so what we have to help ourselves remember and our young people know and remember is that we come from kings and queens, and we descend from them, and there's greatness in our race. There's there's
Yeah.
there's more greatness in our race than they may know, and if they don't know, they need to ask somebody and go find out.
Did you see the movie Michael? Did you see the movie?
Not yet. I've heard a lot of people talk about it though. I got to go
Okay.
see it. Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie, Milton, where Michael's sitting in front of the CBS president and he's like, look, my videos aren't playing on MTV because at the time MTV didn't play black artists. And the
Mhm.
guy said, I've done everything I can do. And he said, listen, please, with love, try harder. Right. And, do we need to go to Google? Do we need to go to Facebook and Meta and say, you need to infect the internet with positive algorithms of blacks? If you're going to allow the salacious algorithms to exist, we need you to balance it. Do you think we have the power as a community to go to some of these companies and ask them to watch what they're putting out, or is that possible?
I think it's worth our effort. But here's what I think as well. There's not a media outlet out there that's not hungry for content. And I think what we have to do is unify together and lift up the members of our community who are like you, who are capturing this good news and then pushing forward. And it's one thing for us to say you ought to do more of it, but when we say here's some of it, they say, well, we can't find it. Well, here's a pot full of
Right,
it right here.
right, right.
I remember years ago. I tried to tell the story in a hurry.
Okay,
I ran supply chain management for a major company. You can guess, and they said that they were having trouble. Our vendors, major vendors, said they couldn't find minority-owned businesses to partner with because we were asking them to do that, and therefore our spend was 10% of our discretionary spend. Our goal was 15. Seemed never be able to hit it till I took it over, and we brought the big vendors together in a big room and the small business owners together in the breakout room surrounding that big room. And I
okay.
said, "Your industry is around you. Go find it. I'll see you at the end of the day." It went from 10% to 16%. You can
Wow.
do it by making it so easy that even if you wanted to avoid it, you couldn't. And I
Right,
think that's what we have to do around changing the view in the game with regard to information around our race and information around our community. We are a great community. We have helped build this nation. It's not a building you look at that we have something to do with.
right, right.
Okay. Not a farm you look at producing that we have something to do with by and large, particularly in the Southeast. And
Yep.
so when you think about those things, we're not new to the game. We're not like, wondering if we can do it. We've proven we can do it. So the real question is, why don't we get the credit for it? Why don't we get the attention to it? And so more and more what's happening is that while we may have been shut out, when you had to have 10,000 acres to have a farm, now we're using hydroponics and producing in urban areas.
Yes, we
Now we're
are.
getting little food deserts. Andrew Young and Walter Young and their family, created a hydroponics farm near the Atlanta airport that has produced incredible amounts of greens and that sort of thing
Yes.
as a part of a program with the YMCA. And of course, they're both members of the 100. And so, and we have a hydroponics, project at Best Academy, Business Engineering Science and Technology Academy at Thomas W. Dortch, a high school in Atlanta in the 30318, which people say, nothing good happens in 30318. But we're making good happen in the 30318. And every city's got a zip code. If somebody says good things don't happen, we're proving that to be wrong because it's not about the zip code, it's about the people in the zip code.
Wow. Wow, Milton. I know that we promised to get you out of here in a half an hour. I got one more question for you, bro.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, I've talked to a lot of people, man. I've interviewed, left, right, up, down, politics, entertainment, athletes. You are a joy to talk to. You seem to love life. And every day when I talk to you, you get up, you're positive, you're laughing, we joke.
Yeah.
And you've managed billions, bro. I need people to understand who they're listening to and who they're watching right now. Why, Milton? What makes you get up in the morning? Why do you enjoy life so much?
You know, I've just been blessed throughout my life, Brad. My wife and I have been married 51 years. I've got
Congratulations.
two adult, thank you. We've got two adult children who are just a joy, and they have kids. So I have five grandkids. And I remember hearing my wife's grandfather worked hard. He built he was a groundskeeper at George Washington University. And he acquired land in the 30s, and he held it, and he wrote a will, even though he only finished 8th grade, to leave what he had to his children's children. And I always that that's in the Bible, of course, and I was always impressed with that. I can focus on leaving assets that are financial to my children and my children's children, but I also want to leave them with a spirit, a spirit of ability to do whatever they choose to make up their mind to do. And I want to leave everybody I touch with that same spirit,
That is
because
beautiful.
people around me when I was growing up left me with that spirit. And so there's nothing I look at that if I can find 2 or 3 other people, we can't manage to get done. And that makes me happy every day. I just want to get about it and be about it.
Wow. Wow. That is a great answer. So basically, pick 3, 4 people daily, infect them with positivity,
Yep.
pay it forward, if you will. Those are great models to live by, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Milton Jones is our cover for July. We congratulate you on your accomplishments and look forward to continuing this conversation in the future, because I'm sure we're going to continue to do some great things.
Great.
And with that, I will give you your day back.
Well, Brad, thank you. And thank you for what you're doing to uplift what's happening in our community and showing people that we got great things going on. You all are doing great. And I look forward to our talking some more and helping you grow as well. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right.